They always say you should mind your business in Dallas, especially at night, especially when you spot red and blue lights flashing under an overpass. No one drives there after midnight. But on April 3rd, 2023, I didn't mind my business, and that decision almost got me killed. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm 38 years old. I fix cars for a living. Not the glamorous kind, no luxury chrome, no wrap jobs. I fix Hondas, busted F-150s, mail trucks, and the occasional Chevy with a bullet hole in the fender. I run a little garage off Ledbetter Drive, open 6 days a week, close whenever the job's done or my back gives out. I drink cheap beer. I sleep 5 hours a night. On Sundays, I watch the Cowboys blow games they should have won. My life was simple until the night I hit record. I was driving home after a transmission swap. It took 8 hours longer than it should have. It was close to 1:20 a.m., and the roads were dead empty, the kind of quiet where even your own headlights seem too loud. I rolled under the I-45 overpass, windows cracked, radio off. That's when I saw them. 2 patrol cars angled tight, boxing in a faded green Chrysler. One kid, maybe 19, pinned against the hood. 2 officers on him, one screaming inches from his face. At first I figured it was just another rough stop. Happens every damn night. The taller cop picked up the kid's backpack. He unzipped it and glanced over his shoulder. Then he reached into his vest pocket. I've been around enough to know what that means. I pulled my truck onto the shoulder, turned on my phone, hit record, didn't say a word. Just held the camera steady and zoomed in. The tall cop stiffened, spotted me. His chin lifted like a predator that just caught the scent. Here we go, I thought. He stomped across the asphalt, his boots cracking gravel like small bones. You need to keep driving, he said. I didn't move. Public road, public stop. I'm allowed to film. His jaw tightened. Turn around and leave. Not unless I broke a law. His eyes narrowed. You're interfering. Not touching anything, not saying anything, just filming. That's when he leaned in, close enough for me to smell his breath. Sharp, metallic, almost like blood. He muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. Put the phone down before this becomes a problem. I raised it higher. Behind him, the second officer pressed the kid harder onto the hood. I heard the word, plant it. And that was it. I stepped forward. Hey, I'm recording everything. You touch him again, and that's when the taller cop shoved me, hard. My phone nearly flew out of my hand. Last warning, he growled. Get back in your car. But I didn't, and I should have. God, I should have. The shorter cop, stocky, shaved head, looked up and shouted, He's interfering! Grab him! Before I could react, the tall one lunged. He slammed me against my own truck, twisted my wrist until white light flashed behind my eyes. My phone hit the pavement. I heard it skid. I yelled, I'm not resisting! Stop resisting, he barked, loud enough for the dash cam. I wasn't resisting, but that never matters. The tall cop stomped my phone with his boot, shattering the screen. Then he leaned down and smashed it again. He looked up at me with a smile. Oops. The other one popped my hood open and rummaged through my cab. No ID, no phone. Who the hell is this guy? He muttered. I felt my stomach drop. That's when I heard it. A faint ding from inside my truck. A notification. The tall one froze. What the hell is that? My voice cracked as I said it. I was live. His head snapped toward me. What was live? Facebook Live. He went pale. The kid on the hood looked up for the first time, eyes wide. They both rushed back to their cruiser, frantic, yelling into their radios. Control, we need suppression on a live stream now. Now. But it was too late. Hundreds of people had already seen it. Comments were exploding. Someone was screen recording and some others were reporting it. They cuffed me anyway. Slammed me into the back of a patrol car. The tall cop slammed the door, looked me dead in the eyes through the window and said, You just screwed with the wrong unit. They took me to a precinct I'd never been in. Not the main one downtown. Some satellite building I'd never seen cops use at night. They dragged me into a side office, pushed me into a chair, and didn't say a word. 5 minutes later, a woman walked in. Short hair, black blazer, cold eyes. You Marcus Hale? I nodded. You interfered with an active police investigation. I filmed a kid getting assaulted. She exhaled like she'd heard that excuse 1,000 times. These officers claim the suspect reached for a weapon. He didn't. You touched an officer during the arrest. I didn't. She set a form on the desk. Sign this statement and you'll be released. I looked at it. It said I blocked a legal investigation, tried to spark violence, and ignored officer commands. I'm not signing that. She tapped the form. Sign it. No. She leaned close. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in? I stared right back. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in? Your guys planted evidence on a kid live on camera. Her eyes flickered. She stood, walked out. The officers followed. They left me alone in that room for 3 hours. No water, no restroom break, no phone call. Just me, a flickering light, and footsteps pacing outside the door. At 4:40 a.m., the tall officer from the highway came back in. He sat across from me, folded his hand, smiled. You know what your problem is? He asked calmly. You think people care? I didn't reply. He leaned back. Those live streams? They disappear. You think Facebook keeps them? Please, they delete faster than we do. They were mirrored, I said softly. His smile faded. By who? I shrugged. Everyone. He slammed the table. Give me names. I didn't flinch. The door swung open. Another officer leaned in and whispered something. The tall cop froze. Then his face twisted with rage. He grabbed my shirt, pulled me so close our foreheads nearly touched, and hissed, You think you hurt me? You didn't. You hurt my unit. You hurt the system. And the system will crush you. He shoved me back and stormed out. 10 minutes later, they uncuffed me, told me I was being released pending charges. No apology, no paperwork, just a shove toward the exit. As I stepped outside, the sky was turning purple. Birds chirping, Dallas waking up. My truck was gone. Towed. No explanation. I walked home. My hands were shaking the whole way. When I turned the corner onto my street, I saw two things at the same time. 1, my neighbor running toward me holding her phone. 2, my front shop, my garage, with the window smashed in. The neighbor shouted, Marcus, it's you! Oh, thank God! She showed me her phone, my live stream. The one they thought disappeared had over 87,000 shares. Her voice trembled. Your business! Something happened! I looked at the broken windows and tools strewn on the sidewalk. My garage door was dented, as if someone had hit it with a battering ram. Spray painted across the concrete in giant black letters were the words, Stay quiet. I spent 5 hours cleaning glass. I tried to calm my hands and refreshed my notifications as messages poured in. I saved your stream. I mirrored it on YouTube. I sent it to the Dallas Observer. They can't hide this. But for every helpful message, there were darker ones. Numbers I didn't recognize, blocked callers, texts like, You're done. You should have kept driving. We know where you live. At noon, 2 unmarked SUVs parked across from my shop. They didn't approach. They just sat, engine running. I closed the metal gate early, locked every door, sat behind the counter and waited. At 4:15 p.m., there was a knock. Not on the door, on the back entrance, the one only employees use. I froze. The knock came again, 3 slow taps. I grabbed a wrench, moved quietly down the hallway. The door was cracked open, just an inch. Just enough for someone to slip something inside. I crouched, saw a manila envelope on the floor, written across the front in red marker. We saw everything. Inside was a USB drive and a single photograph. A picture of me walking home that morning from across the street, taken long before I reached my block, taken by someone waiting for me, someone watching. A chill ran through my spine. I locked the door, checked every window, turned every deadbolt twice. Then I plugged in the USB. There was one file, a video. I pressed play. It was dash cam footage. Footage from the police cruiser at the highway stop. Footage they never meant for anyone to see. The camera angle wasn't perfect, but it captured enough. The tall officer taking the baggie out of his vest. The kid crying, begging. The officers arguing about quota numbers, a dispatcher's
Hands where I can
voice
see
asking
them.
if they needed coverage again, the tall officer saying, "Same as
Don't
last time."
Move!
My stomach dropped. Last time? Last time. How many last times were there? The video ended. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely breathe. I wasn't dealing with two bad cops. I was dealing with a unit, a whole operation, a machine that had been running this playbook for God knows how long, and I'd just become the wrench that jammed it. I sat in my dark garage sweating and my heart racing. I listened to the soft hum of the HVAC, wondering if they were still outside. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. We need to talk, now, before they get to you first. Another message followed. Come alone. Parking lot behind the laundromat on Illinois. 10 minutes. I stared at the message. Trap? Help? Both? I grabbed my keys, grabbed the USB, grabbed the wrench, and walked into the night. The laundromat on Illinois Avenue is wedged between a pawn shop and a payday loan place. It's in a strip mall where old neon glows dimly and every dumpster reeks of bleach mixed with gasoline. It was 9:03 p.m. when I got there. Wind was low, the parking lot was empty, except for some abandoned carts. A flickering street lamp struggled to stay on. I pulled my hoodie up, stayed in the shadows, looked for anyone lingering. Nobody. I almost turned around. Almost. Then a voice behind me said, "Don't panic." I spun, wrench raised. A woman stepped forward, maybe in her early 40s, hair in a bun, plain clothes, no badge visible. She kept her hands where I could see them. "Name's Pamela Ward," she said. "Independent investigator. I've been watching that unit for 6 months." 6 months. I lowered the wrench. Just slightly. "You left this at your shop?" She held up the USB. My heart stopped. I never lost it. I had it in my truck. She must have read my face. "You didn't lose it," she said. "Someone put it there because they knew you'd trust it more coming from someone else." My pulse pounded. "Who?" "You're not ready for that answer." I stepped back. "Try me." She scanned the parking lot. Not here, not safe. If this is a setup, if this were a setup, you'd already be in a van. Her voice stayed calm, flat, almost too steady. That scared me more. She pointed to the alley behind the laundromat. "Walk with me, 10 feet distance." We moved, trash on the ground. Old tires, a cat darting between dumpsters. I kept glancing behind me. "I've been tracking fake arrests linked to a task force in Dallas PD for the last 6 months," she said. "They specialize in high-risk stops, which is code for shakedown drivers who won't fight back. The kid last night wasn't the first," she said. "Not by a long shot." She showed me her phone. Several case numbers, all involving resisting arrest, all involving the same 2 officers. My chest tightened. "What do they want from me?" She stopped walking, turned. "You embarrassed them. Their operation depends on darkness. Your live stream put them in the light. So they vandalized my shop. That was a warning. The envelope was a second warning." "What's next?" Her expression turned cold. "What comes after warnings?" A chill shot up my spine. Before I could ask more, a car engine roared nearby. Headlights swept across the alley. Hard. Too fast to be passing by. Pamela's face snapped toward the noise. "Get down!" We dropped behind a dumpster as a black SUV screeched into the alley, tires spitting gravel, windows tinted, no plates. "Run!" she shouted. I sprinted. She sprinted behind me. The SUV accelerated. A door slid open from inside. It wasn't like a minivan. It was more like a tactical van made for snatch operations. Hands reached out. I felt fingers graze my jacket. Pamela yelled, "This way!" We cut across the alley toward the pawn shop. My lungs burned. The SUV backed up, engine growling, then surged forward again. That's when I heard it. A metallic click-clack. The sound of a shotgun pump. Pamela grabbed my shirt and yanked me behind a concrete barrier. A blast tore through the air. Chunks of brick exploding inches above my head. "Oh my God," I gasped. "They're trying to kill us." Pamela steadied her breath. "No, if they wanted dead, you'd be dead." They want you scared. They want you isolated. And if they get close enough, they'll make it look like you attacked them first. Another blast hit the barrier. Pamela hissed, "We have to move!" We crawled low, hugging the wall. Shards of concrete rained like hail. Then, silence. I peered around the corner. The SUV was gone. I swallowed hard. "What the hell was that?" I asked. "That," Pamela said, standing slowly, "was a message from the task force. Why would cops—" "They aren't just cops anymore," she said quietly. "They're businessmen. They run a side operation that sells seized cash and diverted narcotics back onto the street." My breath caught. "Wait, are you saying—" "Yes," she said. "They plant evidence, seize the drugs, falsify logs, then resell the inventory." "How do you know?" Her jaw tightened. "Because I used to work with one of them." I stared at her. "You were a cop?" "Internal affairs, until I got too close. Then they reassigned me to administrative leave and made my life hell." It all clicked at once. She wasn't here by accident. She wasn't guessing. She knew how they worked. "Why help me?" I asked. "Because your video is the first crack that actually hit the foundation. You validated everything I've been tracking, and now we both have the same problem." Footsteps echoed at the alley opening. Pamela stiffened. 3 silhouettes appeared. Wide shoulders, tactical build. No badges, no uniforms. Just 3 men walking like they owned the street. "Stay behind me," she whispered. "You have a gun?" I asked. "No." The men drew closer. "We know you're there," one called out. A deep voice. I recognized it. The tall cop from the highway. "Come out," he said. "Just want to talk." Pamela murmured, "Don't talk." The tall cop stepped into the light. He wasn't alone. The shaved head officer was with him. But the third guy, I didn't know him. He wasn't a patrol officer. He wore a black bomber jacket, tattoo on his neck. Eyes dead. He looked more like cartel muscle than law enforcement. Pamela leaned close and whispered, "That's the one behind them." My skin went cold. She nodded toward him. "That's the man who pays them." The tall cop raised his hands like he was negotiating. "Let's cool down," he said. "Come on out. No reason for this to get messy." Pamela mouthed, "Run," but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen. The third man stepped forward. He smiled. Not the warm kind. The kind predators make when the prey can't escape. Then he spoke. "We've been looking for you, Mr. Hale." His voice was smooth, southern, almost polite. "There's a lot of money on the line, you understand?" Pamela stepped in front of me. "Stay back." He didn't even look at her. "You embarrassed my boys," he said, pointing lazily toward the officers. "And worse, you embarrassed me." I whispered, "What do you want?" "To clean up your mess," he said, "before more eyes look at us." Pamela took a half step forward. "He's under federal review. Anything happens to him, you'll draw attention." He raised an eyebrow. "You think I'm afraid of attention?" Then he snapped his fingers. The tall cop charged. Pamela pushed me aside. Hard. The cop slammed into her. They hit the ground. He pinned her arm behind her back. The shaved head officer came at me. I swung the wrench, caught him in the jaw. He staggered. The third man didn't move. He watched it with amusement. I backed away, heart pounding. "Don't!" He whipped his jacket open, not to draw a gun, to show me something clipped inside. A badge. Not Dallas PD federal, but not the legit kind. A fake, one used for intimidation. He smirked. "This badge scares people enough to do what I need." The shaved head cop tackled me. We crashed into the dumpster. My head hit metal. Stars exploded behind my eyes. He punched me in the ribs. Then again, and again. I felt something crack. I tasted blood. "Stop!" I gasped. He didn't. Punch after punch. My vision blurred. Everything sounded far away. Then a loud crack. A grunt. The cop fell sideways. Pamela had hit him with a brick. "Get up!" she yelled. "Move!" She grabbed my arm and dragged me to my feet. We stumbled toward the main road. A car horn blared. Headlights bathed us. A rideshare car. Stopping. Door opening. "Get in!" the driver yelled. "Now!" I didn't get the chance to think. Then, Pamela shoved me inside, then slid in next to me. The door slammed. The driver floored it. As we pulled away, I looked back. The tall cop stood there bleeding from the nose. The shaved head officer staggered to his feet. And the third man just watched us leave. No anger, no frustration, just calculation. He mouthed a single word as we disappeared. "Run." The rideshare driver didn't ask questions, didn't look back. He drove like he'd seen this before. Pamela clutched her ribs. I held my chest, struggling to breathe. When we finally slowed onto a residential street, she nodded at the driver. "This is good." We got out. The car sped away without another word. I leaned against a fence, panting. "Who was that man?" Pamela wiped blood from her lip. "His name is Gideon Crow, ex-military, ex-contractor. He works with dirty units across Texas. Not officially, just as a fixer. He makes problems disappear. And now I'm a problem." "You're more than that," she said. "You're leverage." "For what?" "To keep his operation alive." I sank onto the curb. The air felt thick, hard to swallow. "How big is this?" I whispered. She sat beside me, looked at me with tired eyes. "Big enough that if you don't move carefully, you won't survive the week." My stomach twisted. "What do we do?" Pamela took a breath. "We go to someone who can help." "Who?" Her silence told me she didn't fully trust them either. But she finally said the name. "Jessica Tran." My blood chilled. The journalist from the Eli Morales story. Pamela nodded. "She's the only one Crow hasn't been able to silence." I stood slowly. "Where is she?" Pamela rose too. "Downtown, but we have to get there without being followed. Can we call her?" "No," she said firmly. "Phones will be tapped." I swallowed. "Then how?" She pointed down the street. A gray sedan rolled toward us. Tinted windows. No plates. Pamela whispered, "Run!" Before I could move, the sedan accelerated. Hard. Pamela shoved me toward a backyard fence. I vaulted it. Landed on grass. Pain shot through my ribs. Behind me, shouting erupted. Boots hit pavement. A gate slammed. Pamela yelled, "Go! Don't look back!" I crawled behind a shed, clutching my side. Then, gunshot. Then another. I covered my head. Pamela screamed. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. I waited. More footsteps. Voices. The sedan's engine revved. Tires screeched. Silence. I waited longer. Maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 10. Finally, I peeked around the shed. Pamela was gone. No body, no blood trail, nothing. Just the faint smell of burnt rubber and a single object on the grass. Her phone. Cracked. Still warm. I picked it up with shaking hands. One notification flashed on the lock screen. Draft message. "If anything happens to me, look in locker 113, P, locker 113. I memorized it. Pocketed the phone and ran. Ran until my lungs burned. Ran until my ribs felt like fire. Ran until the fear turned into something else. Resolve, because I knew one thing. Whatever was in locker 113 was worth kidnapping her for, or worse. The parking lot behind the laundromat on Illinois Avenue had a mix of detergent and burnt rubber smells. Tonight it felt different. Too quiet. Too still. A kind of stillness that meant something bad was waiting. I pulled in with my headlights off. A streetlight flickered overhead, casting long shadows that sliced across the cracked pavement. A man stood beside a faded blue Corolla. Hood up, hands stuffed in his pockets. Civilian clothes, but posture? Definitely a cop. He didn't look at me right away, just kept scanning the lot, nervous, like he was waiting to be shot any second. "You Marcus?" he asked. "Depends," I said. "Who are you?" He swallowed. "Name's not important. I used to work with them." "The unit?" He nodded. "So why help me?" "Because they turned on the wrong kid." His jaw clenched. "My little brother got pulled over by them last year. Same unit, same playbook. They nearly ruined his life." His voice shook. "They said he matched a suspect description. They planted a pound on him, Took 6 months and 3 lawyers to clear his name. I stepped closer. Why come forward now? He checked the shadows again. Because when you film them, they panicked. And when they panic, they make mistakes. He held something out. A flash drive, black, unlabeled. This has everything. What's everything? I asked. His breathing went shallow. The list, the real one. Their off-book arrest logs, false stops, fabricated evidence, names of every cop who signed off, quotas, kickbacks, the DA contacts, the judges who rubber-stamped warrants. The weight of that drive felt heavier than metal. If this is real, I whispered, you're sitting on a bomb. No, he shook his head. You are. He stepped closer. And that means you need to run. Right now. Run where? Doesn't matter. Anywhere but here. He looked behind me again. Because they're coming. My blood chilled. Who's coming? He didn't answer. Instead, he shoved the flash drive into my hand. Then he ran. Not walked, not jogged. Ran full sprint across the lot, disappearing into the dark. I stood there holding the drive, heart pounding, brain racing. And then I heard it. A slow, soft crunch of gravel behind me. I turned. Headlights. 2 vehicles pulling in from opposite ends of the lot. One unmarked black Suburban, one patrol cruiser, both blocking exits. My breath stopped. The Suburban doors opened. 3 men stepped out wearing tactical vests. No badges showing. No names. Faces hidden in shadows. The one in front, tall, broad shoulders, voice like gravel. Marcus Hale, you should have stayed in your lane. It was him, the tall cop from the stop. Only now he wasn't pretending, and he wasn't alone. I took 1 step back. He smiled. Go ahead, run. I turned and sprinted. Boots thundered behind me. Someone yelled, cut him off. Another commanded, take him alive. I bolted behind the laundromat, through the alley, over a fence. My lungs burned, vision blurred, everything inside me screaming, move. They were faster. They were trained. I wasn't supposed to escape. A flashlight beam cut across the alley wall. He's behind the dumpster. I dove behind a commercial bin, heart hammering so loud I could feel it in my teeth. Voices got closer. Split left. He's bleeding. Follow the drops. He can't get far. I looked down. My forearm was scraped and bleeding from the fence jump. A trail of drops marked the asphalt. I wiped the blood on my shirt, pressed my arm against my chest to stop the drip. Footsteps echoed just feet away. He's close. I held my breath. The flash drive in my pocket felt like it was burning. One footstep landed so close it shook the ground. Someone shouted, he doubled back. Boots thundered away. I waited 5 full seconds before moving. Then I crawled, slow, careful, silent. Once I cleared the alley, I ran again, through a maze of side streets until my chest felt like it was collapsing. By the time I reached my shop, my shirt was soaked, my legs shook, and the world felt tilted. I locked every door behind me, bolted the back entrance, pulled down the metal shutters, collapsed against the counter, gasping. They knew my name. They knew my face. They were hunting me, and I had something they were willing to kill for. The next morning, I didn't open the shop, didn't answer calls, didn't sleep. I uploaded the flash drive to my laptop. Inside were folders, each dated, each labeled with initial coded officer IDs. Inside those folders were body cam clips never filed, arrest logs with forged signatures, timestamps of stops not in the system, receipts of evidence tampering, audio files of officers laughing about quota nights, pictures of seized cash marked as MISC property, internal memos about community pacification, and at the bottom, a file named cinder_master.xlsxx. I clicked it. My heart dropped. Every dirty arrest, every fabricated charge, every payout, every department head who approved it. It was massive, a full criminal enterprise, disguised as law enforcement. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, whispering, Jesus Christ. My stomach twisted. The kid from the stop wasn't random. He was just next on the list. A quota number, a statistic, a paycheck. Then I saw a tab labeled Cinder Recruits. I clicked it, and my blood froze. There were new names, fresh, recent, young officers being trained specifically to join the operation. A pipeline, a factory for corrupt cops. My chest tightened. This was bigger than Dallas, bigger than a precinct, a network, a franchise. My brain spun, but I still had one problem. I couldn't upload any of this. They would trace me instantly. I needed help. Real help. Federal level help. So I did the only thing I could. I texted Jessica Tran, the investigative reporter from the Ledger, the same one who'd covered whistleblowers before. Me. You still covering police misconduct? Jessica. Depends who's asking. Me. Someone in danger. Jessica. Meet where? Me. No meet. Too dangerous. Need your burner email. She sent it. I emailed the entire Cinder master file to her burner. She responded 5 minutes later. Jessica. Jesus. Marcus, this is not police misconduct. Jessica. This is organized crime. Jessica. Are you safe? Me. Not even close. Then she sent the text that changed everything. Jessica. I have a federal contact. Trust me. Don't move. Don't go outside. Stay hidden. I'm calling them now. I didn't move for hours. Didn't eat. Barely breathed. Then late that evening, a car pulled up directly across from my shop. Black sedan. Windows tinted. Not police, not unmarked cop. Too clean, too quiet. Someone stepped out wearing a suit. They approached my door. Knocked once. Mr. Hale, my name is Special Agent Parker. I need you to come with me, right now. They took me to a federal office in downtown Dallas. Parker showed credentials. Real ones. Not the kind you print at Kinko's. He sat me in a conference room. Glass walls, neutral carpet, fluorescent lights that buzzed vaguely malicious. He pulled out a tablet, displayed the Cinder files. You understand what you possess, Mr. Hale? Yeah, I said. Evidence. He shook his head. No, not evidence. A map. A roadmap of corruption spanning at least 9 departments across 3 states. This isn't a rogue unit. This is a coordinated coalition. My throat tightened. A cartel? I whispered. Not drugs, not guns. He paused. Power? He leaned forward. You didn't just walk into a traffic stop. You walked into an operation worth millions per year. I swallowed hard. My hands trembled under the table. So what happens now, I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he unlocked a steel drawer under the table, pulled out a small card, a USB, not the one I gave him, a different one. This, he said, is what you missed. He inserted it into the tablet. A video opened. I felt my stomach twist. It was the same kid from the traffic stop, Aaron Colt, except this video was from 2 weeks earlier. A different stop, a different night. Same officers, the tall one, the short one. Aaron looked scared, confused, shaking. They questioned him, threatened him, took his cash, let him go. Agent Parker paused the video. They were grooming him, he said quietly, testing him, profiling him. My voice cracked. For what? To see if he'd break. If he'd make a mistake they could exploit. They needed a charge, something to escalate, something to justify another use of force. My voice went small. So the stop I filmed was never supposed to be witnessed, Parker finished. I buried my face in my hands. He continued. You're not a suspect anymore, Marcus. You're a witness, the key witness. I shook my head. They won't let me testify. That's why we're relocating you. To where? He stood. Somewhere they can't reach you. And that's when the lights went out. Not flickered, went out. Total darkness. I heard Parker curse under his breath, then, boom. A blast shook the building. Fire alarms blared. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Parker grabbed my arm. They're here. How? This is a federal building. Doesn't matter, he shouted. Move! We sprinted through a hallway lit only by red emergency strobes. Shouting echoed behind us. Heavy boots, breaking glass, metal slamming. They're breaching the floor, Parker yelled. Keep moving. We reached a stairwell. He shoved me inside. Go! Down 3 floors. What about you? I'll hold them off. Are you insane? He shoved his badge into my hand. Take it. You'll need it. Then he slammed the door shut. Gunshots cracked on the other side. I staggered down the stairs, heart racing, breath ragged. Another explosion rocked the stairwell. Concrete dust choked the air. When I hit the bottom floor, I burst into the parking garage. Sirens wailing, smoke drifting, chaos everywhere. A black van screeched around the corner, its side door already sliding open. A masked man leaned out, shouting, "There he is!" I ran, feet pounding pavement. I could hear them behind me, closer, faster, relentless. My legs screamed. My throat burned, my vision blurred. But then, a second SUV slammed into the van. Metal crunched, glass shattered. Someone yelled, "Get in the car!" A sedan pulled up beside me. Driver's door swung open. Jessica. "Marcus, move!" I dove in. She floored it. Tires shrieked. The SUV behind us swerved and recovered. "They're following," I yelled. "I know," she shouted back, hair whipping in the airflow. We tore through downtown streets, wrong lanes, red lights, every law broken in the book. Behind us, the SUV closed distance. "Jessica!" She jerked the wheel, drifting through an alley so narrow the mirrors scraped brick. The SUV couldn't turn in time. It slammed into a dumpster. Jessica didn't slow down until we were 6 blocks away. Then she finally spoke. "Marcus, they killed Parker." My chest constricted. "We need to go somewhere safe," I said. She shook her head. "There is no safe anymore." We reached her apartment, a tiny unit above a Vietnamese bakery. She slammed the door behind us, locked all 3 deadbolts, and pulled shades down. Then she paced. "This is bigger than I thought," she said. "Way bigger." I sat on her couch. "You contacted Parker," I said. "They tracked him." "No," she said, "not me." She turned her laptop toward me. Her burner email was open. There was a new message, sent 2 hours earlier. Subject line, "Thanks for everything." Email body, "We got what we needed. JT." I blinked. "Jessica, you didn't send that." Her face went pale. "No," she whispered. "They spoofed my email. They traced our communication." The room went dead silent. A cold realization sank in. "They wanted us to trust Parker," I said. "They let us contact him. Then they took him out." Jessica swallowed hard. "Marcus, we're next." I opened my palms. "We still have the files." She shook her head. "They'll bury them. Corrupt feds, local courts, state agencies, all connected." "So what do we do?" She took a long breath. "We burn the whole thing down." Jessica began uploading the Cinder master file to every secure platform she had, but it wasn't enough. "They'll shut down mainstream media," she said. "So what then?" She turned to me. "We go public, direct, viral, irreversible." "You mean?" "Yes," she said. "We release everything to everyone." Before I could respond, a heavy bang hit her front door. Jessica froze. Another bang. Harder. Someone outside barked, "Open the door! Federal investigation!" Jessica whispered, "Yeah, that's not the feds." Another voice shouted, "Apartment 302 is clear. Breach the next." They were sweeping the floor. I grabbed the laptop. Jessica grabbed a flash drive. We climbed out the fire escape. Shots rang behind us. Glass shattered. A bullet tore through the kitchen wall. "Go!" she screamed. We climbed down the metal ladder, but halfway, a tactical flashlight blinded us. "There!" someone yelled. Bullets punched into the metal rails. I lost my grip, fell 6 feet, hit the ground so hard my vision flashed white. Jessica dropped beside me, pulling me up. We ran again, down the alley, across the street, through a fence. Sirens blared, boots thundered, dogs barked. The whole city felt like it was hunting us. Every time a car turned a corner, I flinched. Every time a helicopter passed overhead, I ducked. But that didn't stop her. Jessica kept typing as we ran. Uploading, uploading, uploading. Somewhere in the chaos, she screamed, "It's up! It's live!" I stopped dead. "You did it?" "Yes," she gasped. "Every file, every video, every name, every department." A final upload finished with a loud ding. Then her phone vibrated. A news alert, followed by another, and another. The world had it now. Everyone, instantly, irreversibly. Then we heard screeching tires. A squad of unmarked vehicles surrounded the alley. Guns raised, spotlights blinding. A voice boomed through a speaker. "Drop to your knees." Jessica grabbed my arm. "This is it." I nodded. "Then let's make it count." And before we could say anything else, a column of Dallas PD cruisers screeched up behind the unmarked vehicles. But they weren't pointing guns at us. They were pointing at them. Orders screamed. Badges flashed. Dozens of officers rushing in from both ends. A voice shouted, "Stand down! Federal warrants! You are under arrest!" The corrupt unit froze. One tried to reach for his radio. Another tried to run. The tall cop, the monster from the traffic stop, looked right at me. For the first time, he wasn't smiling. He whispered, "This isn't over." Then he reached for his gun. He never got the chance. A federal agent tackled him from behind. Another kicked the weapon away. 3 more cuffed him. I collapsed to my knees. Jessica fell beside me crying. It was over. It was finally over. The next weeks were a blur. 27 officers arrested. 9 supervisors indicted. 3 judges removed. 2 feds charged with obstruction. The entire Cinder operation dismantled. My name was everywhere. Talk shows called. Podcasts wanted exclusives. Crowds chanted my name outside the courthouse. But none of that mattered. Only one thing did. The kid, the one from the highway stop, Aaron Colt. His family reached out to me. They hugged me, thanked me, told me Aaron would have wanted someone to stand up for him. I didn't have words, and I still don't. 1 month after the arrest, I received a plain envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid, a picture of the tall cop in handcuffs, face bruised, eyes glaring at the camera. On the back, written in marker, they weren't the only ones. No signature, no explanation, just a warning, a reminder, a promise. I looked up from the picture, out the window, at the world I thought I understood, and whispered, "This isn't over."